So the show I have for you tonight is a map, is the map of a ketogenic diet. So this is what I like to call the Keto Continuum. This map of the Keto Continuum is something that is the foundation for where I wrote this book that I've been working on. That's been another reason why people say, why did you do the 72-hour fast so many weeks in a row? And the real answer is I really want to finish this book. I'm so close to finishing it that it's painful, actually. So the online course that I put out a few weeks ago was this curriculum. It was practicing the curriculum that's in the book. That I really do think is, when I wrote the book Any Way You Can, it was my first stumble understanding, helping my mother through her cancer journey of how can we use a ketogenic diet to improve her cancer numbers while resurrecting her health. That was 5 years ago though, and I have learned so much about what are the missed steps for a ketogenic diet and what should people be doing if you really want to be ketones for life, which is really my motto. I mean, that really means two things: not just ketones until the day you die, but ketones to revive your life. And boy, I can separate as I walk in the room when I see a patient who is in a ketogenic state or who's been practicing ketosis and who hasn't been there yet. And the energy that is in their eyes, in their voice, in the passion for their life is just a different caliber for my ketogenic patients versus those who have yet to step over the threshold. All right, so I'm going to go through this real quick to say this roadmap has a few really important things in it. So I'm going to first begin by showing you this column that is the Keto Continuum of beginners, baseline, and stressing metabolism. And specifically, what I like you to see is that in a beginner's setting, you start out like everybody else. You're not really testing anything. You're eating whenever you feel hungry. And most people's metabolism has them eating every 2 to 4 hours. Now, the reason I put that standard American diet as step 1 on the Keto Continuum is if you've been doing the ketogenic diet, you'll probably fall off. Now, I hope people don't fall all the way back to step 1, but in the event that they do, we start over. We start with the next steps on what it means to be in a ketogenic diet. So some of the other things I like to point out in step 1 is that you are fueled on glucose. That you have to refuel often because you don't burn any ketones. You really have a struggle for keeping energy high enough without getting a hunger or a craving. When you step over the threshold into the ketogenic diet, that is no little threshold. It is actually 20 carbs or less. And when you do that, your chemistry inside your body changes. You'll notice that this strip over here that says test, the one that's yellow, is the urine ketone strips. And at the beginning, I really don't think people need to be doing this. I didn't do that for almost 9 months into the ketogenic diet. Those urine ketone strips, or otherwise called ketone strips, are they're great, they're easy, they're cheap, they're safe. You don't have to poke your finger, and they are pretty reliable at this early stage. At this stage of the game, chemistry is what's shifting. For those of you that 20 total carbohydrates or less sounds like a lot of a drop, I would push you to look into that, taking that online course that consistently keto preps people that are what I call in the 200 club. They're taking more than 200 carbohydrates per day. And when they slam down to 20 carbs or less, some gnarly things can happen. And they often can't make it past the first week if they do that. I really spend time going through what you can do to prepare for that, what you should do if it happens, if you run into one of the most common troubles. But it really does begin. Ketosis is not a diet, it is a chemistry set. It begins when your ketone strips turn positive. And from this point forward, we want you consistently keto or on the keto continuum because there are ketones in your circulation. That is what the ketogenic diet does. If you want autophagy, if you want the best metabolic health, if you want to find that way to prevent infections from overrunning your body with a cytokine storm, with the problems that we see in folks with chronic insulin, chronically overweight, high blood pressure, that pre-existing conditions for COVID-19. What's the separating factor? They have buckets of insulin and their body is not as prepared for fighting off infections as it would be had they been practicing a state of ketosis for the weeks prior to that. All right, some big highlights for the guidelines. Again, 20 carbs per day, that's total carbs. The key that I really like people to know is that be sure you eat high fat. So many patients start the ketogenic diet and they skip the high fat part. Their brain just cannot get around how valuable it is to add fat in the first step of the ketogenic diet. Without the fat, you skip the chemistry. You cannot resurrect your chemistry. You, especially if you're insulin resistant, you've had those 15, 20 pounds on for more than a couple years, your body is used to not letting fat out of the fat cells. The only fat you get to use for hormones and this chemistry I keep talking about is the fat you eat. And until we get you keto adapted, you have to eat your fat in order to get the benefits of the ketogenic diet. That's a huge mistake that I see folks make. This continues until they accidentally miss a meal. And it's usually one of these remarkable moments where I often jump out of my chair. I'm usually excited for them because it really does mark keto adaptation. That the hormones that shut off your hunger are in a state of ketosis, a chronic state of ketosis. It is one of the things with the supplements that when I'm asking patients to just journey forward, if they can't lift it all, if they can't make all these changes, I don't want them on supplements forever, but I don't want them falling all the way down in the ditch, back into the carb fog. Instead, I like them just, let me give you the supplements. Let me give you the ketones. But that keto adaptation comes when your body is making ketones on a regular basis. You should still be checking ketone strips, and it takes you about 4 to 6 weeks to get through these first 4 steps of the keto continuum. I tell patients that the first 3 steps, the chemistry will carry you. As long as you cut those carbs to 20 and you're eating fat, the chemistry really does most of the work. People say, it's easy, I'm keto, I'm doing great, my ketone strips are positive. What, and they just hang out right there at keto adaptation or keto continuum number 3 at keto adapted. The next step takes a little bit of discipline, and that is where you say, all right, your chemistry is working for you. Now I need you to eat 2 meals per day. And I like people to stay there at least a couple of weeks. 2 meals per day. Do not try to shorten that to 2 days of 2 meals per day. I really like them getting a pattern of what this looks like to have 2 meals a day, as opposed to eating every 6 to 8 hours. And again, number 1 was eating every 2 to 4 hours, so there's quite a transition in there. Getting the social parts used to eating only 2 meals a day is really weird. So there are several things that you're going to run into, and I like them to stay at Keto Continuum number 4 until they are successful for at least 10 days. 2 weeks is even better. But again, it's a choice. You're not going to wake up saying, hey, I accidentally ate 2 meals every day. No, you got to really plan that as 2 meals a day. That's what you do. This is a time where I still want them, I want them succeeding 7 consecutive days in a row before they advance. And 10 days to 2 weeks is even better. But then the next place comes that they graduate from being a beginner and they move into what I call the baseline metabolism. Baseline metabolism.
Please subscribe to my channel. And don't forget to click the notification bell so you don't miss out on any new videos. Stay tuned.